the Edinburgh Derby under the lights at Easter Road.
Whose side are you on?
A capital contest to savour. Two clubs, one city. One game, one hell of a game. Not a day for faint hearts or faint hips.
Natural order restored? Well, these Hearts fans currently have the bragging rights after January's cup victory at Tynecastle. But will they be celebrating tonight in the backyard of their rivals? These Hibs fans are confident that despite that cup loss, their league form is impressive and have won their last 4 Edinburgh derbies at Easter Road. Well, evenings in Edinburgh don't get better than this. The Ladbroke Scottish Premiership fixture kicks off shortly. Hibs, well, they are currently 9 points and 2 places ahead of Hearts. And that is the only order that matters in the east of the city. Good evening, welcome to Easter Road, where we kick off the action to a huge rivalry weekend here on Sky Sports. I'm delighted to say, joining us in the studio, we have Chris Commons and James McFadden. Now, my goodness, Hearts have the bragging rights. Craig Levine's comments have been brought up ahead of this one. Just how intense has that made this fixture?
Well, it's gave everything that Neil Lennon needs in his team talk. I mean, I can see some sort of motivational thing for your own players. But to go out your way to motivate the opposition is pretty daft, really. Now, Craig Levine says it was flippant of tongue. He just said it as a joke. But Neil Lennon certainly didn't take it as that way. And like I said, it's give, especially Neil Lennon and the players, that extra bit of spice needed. Because at 90 minutes, you want to be going in there saying, we actually beat them and we've shown Craig Levine why we are the better team.
The pressure is on which side more?
Hearts, without a doubt. Craig Levine's made that even more so. You know, they're 9 points behind Hibs. They have to win tonight to have any chance of catching them. And in my opinion, Craig Levine's made it a harder task for Hearts because, as Chris says, it makes it easier. You know, Neil Lennon, we know what he's like. He's fiery character as it is, but it's made his job easy this week. You know, Craig Levine's built this up so that it makes it easier for Hibs to come into the game with no pressure, although it's a derby, but making it easier for them to go and try and win the game.
Yeah, key players looking ahead to this huge battle tonight. The big news from Hibs. Well, Paul Hanlon, the captain, is back in the side. That's the only change for our last game. That was 13 days ago against Kilmarnock. Team scrolling across the bottom of your screens. Hearts as well. Big news for them. They're going to have to come up against Christoph Berra, but with them knowing that they have to face such a strong Hearts side, they have key people back. How tough is that going to be for them?
It's going to be a very difficult game. I always like the atmosphere at Easter Road. I think it inspires the Hibs players a lot more than what a Hearts player would do at Tynecastle. I think Hibs this season have been very, very strong at home.
Okay.
In the big games. I think if they can recreate the sort of performance they had against Aberdeen, then Hearts are going to be in for a long, long evening. But I think Christoph Berra and Suter being in that back four certainly adds a lot of stability, don't you think, James?
Yeah, I mean, it's an easy game in terms of how they approach it with Hearts because they can come here and defend knowing that Hibs are going to throw everything at them. We've watched them before, they're an attacking side, and it suits Hearts because having watched them last week, they didn't have much going forward. Kyle Laffett was very isolated against Motherwell in the Cup, and it will suit them to have, for Hibs to have more of the ball, for them to be tight and compact in defence and try and catch them on the break. But I still fancy that it will be a tough game for them because of the attacking threat that Hibs have.
You know, they've been closely fought encounters that have been certainly full of fieriness and fight, that's for sure, in the season so far. Let's remind you of when these two sides went head to head.
Boyle here, he's onside. Shaw waiting for a cross! And was that over the line? It's not been given. And he can't believe it. Cochrane's corner. There is header! And it's gone in! Christoph Federer may well have made the difference on Derby Day in Edinburgh!
Well, for Hearts, that win in January was actually the only victory in the last 10 fixtures in the Championship, Premiership and the Scottish Cup. There's been some very great encounters as far as the two sides going head-to-head. But what about Chris Commons? One battle to look out for as well. When you look at McGinn, Naismith, how intriguing in this battle and why is it so intriguing?
Well, for me, John McGinn is now developing into a real athlete. He's a very, very strong, powerful runner with the ball. He's got an eye for goal as well. One thing I think that probably is a little question mark over John is his defensive ability, his tactical awareness to realise who's in and around him. Now, when you're looking at Stephen Naismith, you're looking at a guy that's his bread and butter. Coming in from the left or the right and getting in them lovely little positions in between the defence and midfield. Now, as a midfielder, you've got to be aware of that. Scott Brown's been sensational for 8-9 years at closing them spaces down, and I think if Hearts are going to try and get into the game, they need to get Stephen Naismith in them spaces, and obviously that'll be a big test for John McGinn, whether or not he's maturing into the full player.
Yeah, okay, well, Hibs and Hearts preparing to do battle for the 4th Edinburgh Derby this season. The gloves are off, with City bragging rights on under the lights at Easter Road tonight.
Just like a normal derby. Very competitive, I'm sure, with two teams who are desperate to win.
A very intense atmosphere and you know, local rivalry at stake.
It has a huge effect on everybody in Edinburgh.
You know, you can't predict any derby going into it regardless of form.
It's hard to say that it's enjoyable, but I love the feelings that it brings.
The atmospheres have been good and there's always plenty of talking points as well.
The bragging rights for a period of time, and it allows you to go home feeling pretty good if you win.
We've certainly been enjoying this, haven't we, in the build-up? But what about the managers and the way that they are with each other as well, heading into this one, Chris?
Well, by all accounts, they're very good friends. But you know, I think when you're in the dugout, I think all your friendships go aside. But interestingly enough, there, Craig Levine's saying both teams desperate to win. I think over the course of the season, I don't think Hearts have ever looked like they're desperate to win. Look more like a team desperate not to lose. So, you know, it'd be interesting to see how they come out and see if they do go toe-to-toe with Hibs.
But the game plan for Hearts then, just not lose.
Yeah, I think so. I don't think they'll go toe-to-toe. They'll try and sit back, maybe counter-attack them or absorb the pressure and maybe score on a set piece. Kyle Laffey, we know, can create things out of nothing, and he's a bit of a maverick up front for them. So, you know, I wouldn't say they're coming here desperate not to lose, but they have to go and try and win the game for me.
Absolutely. Well, let's hand you over to our commentary team. Andy Walker, but first, Ian.